to EEI Late Night with KJ on EEI.
Dun, 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 dun. See, I told you I know my Zeppelin. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. Just the time for Mardi Gras. Of course, nobody's leaving here. Thanks, Governor Baker. KJ Late Night on WEEI, part of the WEEI Sports Radio Network. Royal Orleans. Some people say Presence is the worst Led Zeppelin while living album. I mean, Achilles' Last Stand is a great song. Hots for Nowhere is pretty good. T for One, yeah. Not a bad song. Not that bad of an album. Though it's kind of weird, like a real life obelisk showed up like a month ago, randomly in places. I was like, Zeppelin's coming out with another album? That wasn't it. Have you heard this story about Greg McDermott? Now, if I accidentally say Doug while I'm telling the story, it's because it's Doug McDermott's father. It's the head coach of Creighton. It's a school in Nebraska. They're top 15 NCAA basketball team. I know I haven't watched college basketball either. You could tell me Our Lady of Assumption is like top 5, and I believe it. So, sometime last weekend, Greg McDermott tells his players after a loss, I need you with me. I need you to stay on the plantation. Huh? Now remember, this is a school in Nebraska. I even had to look it back up, but my history remembers and tells me that Nebraska was a free state. So you may want to pull out your Missouri Compromise maps out, though I don't think you have them on you. He was still able to coach when they played against Villanova on Wednesday because Villanova's ranked 10th and they're ranked 14th, and you know, it's a big game. Huh? So the university's catching a bit of slack because people are wondering, like, okay, if that happened on Saturday and the blowback started coming Monday, Tuesday, why was he coaching on Wednesday to then suspend him on Thursday? The Plantation comment, he knew what he was saying. You know, my major is journalism, so it's my job to go, like, dig around and find some things. So the first thing I do? Let me go look up at the makeup of the Creighton men's basketball team this year. 5 of his players are black, 12 are not. 1 assistant is black, and they have a person who's in charge of diversity and inclusion. It's an older black gentleman. Sometime when the room looks comfortable, you get too comfortable. Let me say that again. Sometimes when the room looks comfortable, you get too comfortable. I've been in those situations. 2 of the 5 black players are from southern states where the word plantation is in full effect. I probably could tell this story. So if you've listened to the show when I've been here, I sometimes mention that I go down to North Carolina. This is going to be one of those places where they have plantations. Well, a lot of these plantations have been transformed into these mega houses. If I told you the price of the house, you'd probably sell your double decker and get out of here, and you'd still have change in your pocket. But for people down there driving past there, they remember everything up through Jim Crow. Sharecropping, getting the bad vegetables on the harvest, the bad fruit. It's not a lot of good memories when you see a place called such and such plantation. It never has been for a certain set. Again, when the room looks comfortable, sometimes you get too comfortable. As I mentioned, Creighton is a top 15 team. A lot is at stake. But this is a horrible story to lead into the NCAA tournament. So if you just did the math, you say, okay, if you broke down the seeds, where would Creighton be as a seed? You might say a 3 seed. So they're going to be one of the teams looked at to go further in the tournament And oh yeah, by the way, the coach has been suspended indefinitely because, quote, I need you guys to stay on the plantation. College basketball's already in bad shape. It already is. I don't know if you've heard about this team called Ignite in the G League. It is a team owned by the NBA that pretty much says, hey, when you're done with high school, we can pay you an accelerated salary and come play in the G League. We'll give you an NBA coach. We'll even put an NBA player, former NBA player, on your team. That's enticing. In fact, you could probably talk to better-looking chicks. You have a job. You can go out. You've got your own place. There's no study hall talk. I don't have to go to some professor or deal with some professor who doesn't like me because I am an athlete and they're academia. You know, Boston College lost the other night by 29 points.
Their basketball program is a joke.
It's the indice of where college basketball is. The days of BC versus Syracuse. Hell, BC versus Providence. Who does that get excited now? So when a college coach like Greg McDermott, the father of Doug McDermott, who has a well-respected reputation, says, I need you guys to stay on the plantation, and is from Iowa, a free state, and coaches in Nebraska, a free state, Greg exposed himself. The room looked too comfortable. You decide to let it out. Why? A couple of your players might take offense to it, but it's offensive. Probably didn't think it'd get out in the middle of Nebraska. Have you ever been to Nebraska?
I have not.
The running joke is don't ever show up to Nebraska unless Warren Buffett has shown up and stopped back through. After that, what's the point? Hey, Warren Buffett is up here for a conference. Go right up I-29 from Kansas City. Oh, he's left? Get back. Like I said, I've been in those rooms a few times, but in this day and age of social media and instant news, stupid games get stupid prizes. You've heard that one before, right? In fact, you even got to coach another game before you got your stupid prize. Look, Greg McDermott's story does not help the sport at all. I think I just saw something on a crawl on ESPN within the last couple of days that not only does the G League have this one team, but there's the development of a team of where high school kids can forego their last year and go into this league. There's always the option to go overseas. Creighton is not a powerhouse in the pantheon of what we think of powerhouses. But yet it's still one of those schools small enough to still be able to have regional control, right? The school is responsible probably for any of the restaurants making any money. Ticket sales from the game probably helps boost the local economy. You got a team that competes in a Big East league. It doesn't even look like the Big East. It's like the Big Least.
What's left of the Big East?
Oh, my gosh. It looks like the South Bronx in the late 70s. Just bombarded and holes driven through it and just tear it all down. But hey, kid, you can come play in the Big East as long as you stay on the plantation. Dummy. But you know what's crazy? And I'm still wondering when this hits. We are now in a society where you, as the head coach in front of your team, with a couple of kids from southern states who are black, and you say, I need you guys to stay on the plantation, even though where you grew up did not have plantations. Or where you coached never had plantations. They don't have those in Nebraska and Iowa. They're called farmland. We are now in a society where, hey, if I get reprimanded, what's to stop to put up a crowdsourcing site? I can make more money off of people saying, that's that Oh, he didn't mean what he said. Here's $15. And if I can get 1,000 or 1,000,000 people to do that, it was worth it. I might want out of my situation. And then wash, rinse, repeat. It's unfortunate. I hope for Greg McDermott, because I'm not one of those throw them to the lions type. However, if I can go through all that and say, well, wait a minute, I could understand if you were a guy that grew up in Georgia or grew up in Florida or the Carolinas and this came out of your mouth. I can make an argument on your behalf that it was a cultural slip up versus something where would that word come from? It wasn't around you. And there's poor NCAA basketball. You know that Duke is considered one of the last 4 out? Who's watching that? If I was a particular invested entity in the NCAA, I'd make sure I'd be showing up at the ACC tournament. COVID scare, Duke wins. We got to get him in there. In a year where Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke, Syracuse, Georgetown, all these teams are ghost. Oh, I can't wait to see Gonzaga in the national championship. That's exciting. You realize that Kelly Olynyk is one of the heads of its Mount Rushmore of Gonzaga.
Few people could even locate Gonzaga on a map.
Yeah, it's way out there, and you're right. For those who want to know, it's in upstate Washington. I only know that because I went out to Seattle, and I saw people wearing Gonzaga shirts. I was like, oh, I must be close. Like, where's Waldo? I must be close. Yeah, the NCAA, the tournament is in trouble because the known names may not be in the tournament. And of course, in this social environment we're in, the big story is, hey, guess what? Your 3-seed coach over there has been suspended because he has kids to stay on a plantation. How crazy does that ish sound? All right, coming up, I have some good news here on WEEI, late night.